If you've been trying to figure out how to sell to big corporations without getting stuck in endless sales cycles, this is something you absolutely are going to want to hear. And stick around because I'll also share a pricing mistake that can cost you a lot of money over the lifetime value of every single one of your corporate clients. When selling to big corporations, there's a technique that can help you build momentum quickly and close business a lot faster than most people think is possible. And this is especially true if you're a consultant, a leadership coach, a trainer, service provider, or other type of expert. We talk to our Bold House Collective members all the time about the concept of land and expand, meaning you first land a client and then you expand inside that organization. They always have another problem or challenge that you can help them with. But the key is, how do you first land those clients? And for that, you can use a technique called the gateway offering, meaning something that you sell that is a gateway into doing more with you. But just because something is a small project, a small initial sale, it doesn't necessarily make it a gateway offering. So in this video, I'm going to walk you through what really makes for a good gateway offering, why they work so well, and some gateway offerings that you might want to consider in your own business. All right, so first, let's talk about why gateway offerings work so well and why you absolutely want to have one as part of your services suite. One of the reasons they work so well is because gateways tend to be things that are lower dollar amounts. And a lower dollar amount is going to mean that there is a lower approval threshold inside the organization. There are more people who have the authority to say yes, and also it's easier to find smaller buckets of money that are laying around and are unutilized. Gateway offerings also work because there are fewer interdependencies. A good gateway is not going to be overly complicated and need 5 or 6 different teams or departments to all get on the same page about what needs to be done and when it needs to happen. It's going to be very clearly scoped so that it intentionally does not have a lot of interdependencies. It works really well because it helps the client reduce risk. Whenever a company is buying expertise, they're buying the invisible. They have no way of really knowing if you're any good at what you do, if you're going to be effective, if you're going to be easy to work with. And unfortunately, most decision makers have been burned before. They've had bad experiences. So the gateway offer gives them a chance to test you out, take you for a test drive without putting a lot of time and money on the line. Gateway offerings work really well because it also helps decision makers to get it. If you've ever said to yourself, man, once somebody has worked with my company, they totally get it, but it's just trying to help them understand when they haven't worked with us. The gateway offer is going to be your best friend because it gives them that sample, that taste of what it means, everything that you're explaining to them, and now they will be yet another client who gets it. Another reason gateway offerings work is because of the psychology. Once a decision maker has got over the hump of buying from you, they're much more likely to keep buying from you. And then, of course, there's the familiarity of them working with you and you working with them. So you better understand what they need, what their preferences are, and they know what they can ask you for. So it builds that relationship in a really safe way. So having a gateway offering is really a must-have in today's marketplace. So now let's talk about some of the characteristics of what makes for a great gateway offering. The first is that a gateway offering has to provide real value to the organization. The worst thing in the world to do is to have a decision maker decide to purchase from you, but they purchase something that's so small that it's insignificant, that they can't really ascertain that they got any real value from hiring you to do X, Y, and Z. That's going to be really bad for you because even if they're only spending $4,000 or $5,000, that's still part of their budget. They will feel that it's wasted if they don't look at the end and go, wow, that was really worth our effort and money to do that. Next, it has to lead to a logical next step. The last thing you want to do with a gateway offer is paint yourself into a corner. You want to make sure that your gateway offer is also designed in a way that's going to give you some insider intel on that company. You don't want your gateway offer to be something that you can do from the outside without learning anything more about that company, without gaining any more data or information on those companies. That's not a gateway offer. That's just a low dollar offer. Gateways give you intel, and you need that intel if you're going to ultimately expand into higher paying opportunities inside that organization. A good gateway offer also gives you time with real decision makers. You need that relationship building time baked into the way you structure your gateway offering. And last but not least, a good gateway offering bakes in what we at Bold House call the bounce, meaning you always need to have a meeting scheduled where you can bounce into the next opportunity with an organization. If your gateway offer is just a report that you attach to an email and send over to the decision maker and there's no further conversation, you've created a real obstacle for yourself in terms of ultimately getting to the next opportunity. Again, you basically took the expand part right out of the land and expand equation. So your gateway offers have to provide real tangible value. They have to lead to a logical next step. It has to give you the insider intel. It has to give you time with real decision makers, and it has to bake in the bounce to the next opportunity. So now let's look at just a few examples of things that make for great gateways. Things like a discovery phase for an organization where you do things such as stakeholder interviews and focus groups and assessments to really help them better understand the challenge, problem, or opportunity that they're facing. Doing a gap analysis between what they already have in place and perhaps what they really should have in place in order to meet their goals. Doing a strategy day where you roll up your sleeves with 1, 2, 3, or 4 decision makers to help them map out a clear strategy for their organization. It could be a pilot program where you test out a training program, a coaching program, or some other effort with a small group of leaders or employees. Or it could be designing a strategic roadmap for the client, helping them really build a plan of action and know the key phases of achieving a goal or outcome that they're looking to get to. Or it could be designing a strategic roadmap for a leader, really giving them the step-by-step plan to affect a positive change in their organization or to achieve a key goal that's on their business plan. Any of these make for a great gateway offering, but of course, this is just a few examples. There's really no limit to your creativity or innovation in designing a gateway offering for your clients. The key is just to make sure that it has those characteristics that are going to set you up for the expand part of land and expand. Now let's talk about the big mistake that can cost you a lot of revenue and profitability in your organization. And that is pricing your gateway too low. On one hand, you do want to make it easy for decision makers to say yes about getting started working with you. At the same time though, whatever you charge for your gateway offering is going to anchor pricing in the mind of those decision makers. And we often see folks really undercut themselves on price with a gateway offering in the beginning just because they really want to close that sale. The problem is then every single next step with that client, every additional service or program that they buy will all be based in relation to what they paid for that gateway offering at the beginning. So if you price too low on your gateway offering, you're going to keep paying for that mistake every single time that that organization buys the next thing from you. And ideally, if you're following our strategies, you're going to keep those clients for a very long time. And the lifetime customer value should be very high. But every time you're pricing with a company, you're teaching them how to buy from you, and none more so than that very first buy. That is the most powerful pricing anchor that you are setting with a decision maker. So yes, You want to price it in a way that they can say yes to, but you don't want to price it so low that it ends up costing you tens of thousands of dollars, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars over the lifetime relationship with that organization. Okay, now that you know how to create a really great gateway offering, the next video you're gonna wanna watch is how to sell to Fortune 500 companies, where I provide even more strategies for building relationships and getting your foot in the door. I put the link to that right in the description below. Go check that out now, and I will meet you over there.